This business, not a lot of women are in it, and you could be one of them. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Lydia Show. I am glad you're here, and I hope you like the last few episodes. So today, I wanted to talk to you about why did I decide business was for me? Why did I start my own business? And I don't know why I am here where I am today. Okay, cool. So when I decided on this topic, of course, like I told you previously, I go on to see why did other people start their businesses? And I wanted to share with you because I read this Wall Street Journal. And the essential reason why people started their business, 67% of people started their business because of independence or the fact that they wanted to be their own boss. 71% wanted to contribute to society, or they wanted to create something that have some form of impact to their community. 59% of the people in the journal wanted to pass on their businesses to their family or their friends. No, family. Essentially creating some form of generational wealth. 70% of the people within that journal, turns out that they found that the business itself covered their regular monthly expense, right? And 64% of them wanted to have a little bit more control over their life and their future. Now, giving you all that statistics, I wanted to dive into why I decided business was for me. And I think for me, it's probably a little bit of a funny story or interesting in itself. All right. So in previous episode, I told you about my parents, that they didn't have much education, and that they sacrificed a lot for us to have our own education. And I also shared with you that my dad couldn't read for a very long time, and my mom really only had a grade school education. But growing up in Jamaica, I remember vividly they had their own business. And that was interesting to me because we lived in a fishing village and they were fisher people. So they created, growing up, I remember them having an import and export business. And it was fascinating to me. I have seen them and I thought to myself, wait, if they didn't have enough education and they could create something that was able to support us, what could I do with a little bit more education or with more than they had? So that was one of the first things that sparked it for me. I liked the fact that when it was time for family vacation and things like that, my parents, they were the ones that people would come and hang out. I liked the fact that they were the center of education. And I think it was mostly because of business. Politicians and different people would come visit them. And to me, it was nice as a kid being able to see that. If something happened within the community, they were the ones that people would call on. And I thought, I wanted to be something like that. So when I was about 8 years old, though, this one lady, her name was Vi. I don't know if she's still alive, but I remember her. It's usually only fishermen that were the business people, and the women stay behind while the men do all the stuff. But then there was this one lady. She was the boss of all the men. Like, she would come and they would buy the lobster and fish and come from my parents. And she had her own people and that she was exporting the stuff out too. And to me, she was fascinating. She would jump from one boat to the next and she would weigh the fish. And I mean, it was like a constant communication and stuff. And I was like, So one day I was paying attention to her and she looked at me and she said, I was 8. I remember I was about 8 years old. And she said, do you know you could do this? In this business, not a lot of women are in it, and you could be one of them. And I thought, ooh, that's really strong. And she sparked something in me too. I was like, yes, okay. So after that encounter, I knew like, okay, business was it. I didn't know all the intricate details, but the fact that they had an import and export business, that's what I had in my mind. Like, I would learn, go to school, and possibly come back and take the family business. But my father's or my parents' ideology was that because we weren't men, we weren't allowed to take it over. So they didn't really want to teach us, or they didn't teach us the business like I would have wanted to. So with that being said, and of course, with our family falling apart, the business fell apart too. But someplace in my mind, that stayed, that I wanted to have an import and export business. I wanted to be able to do something similar to what my parents did. Because I thought to myself, man, if they had built that and passed that to me, honestly, I would have done amazing with it. And so that right there, I resonate with the percentage of the people who said that they wanted to leave their business for the future or for a family member or generational wealth. 59 to 65% of them are that said that. It's like, yes, 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 yes. Our children really are looking on us to be able to create something or to guide them into be able to being or leaving something substantial for them. And for a lot of people within our communities, we don't do that. So fast forward to me becoming a teenager, and then I got to America. And I still had all of that in my mind. And when I went to high school, I remember it was my last year. And of course, we had to pick whatever electives that you had to do. And of course, most children went and picked the easiest class, whether it's PE or cooking. And I remember I'd sign up for drama. And after I signed up for drama, somebody told me about an accounting class. And I was like, wait, accounting? Business class? Oh my goodness. Do you know what I did? I dropped my drama class and went straight where the money is. Not to mention at the time, they were giving out additional vocational certificates. And I said, hold on, I could graduate from school with a financial clerk and data entry. And they were teaching me computers at the time when we didn't have access to computers. Of course, this is what I want to do. So those are decisions that I made when I was in high school that kept me on the path of having my own business, because really that's what I wanted to do. This watch is blinging too much and I don't like the sound it's making. Okay. So after high school, hold on, let me put this stuff on silent because the blinging, it's not working for either of us. All right. So after high school, when I graduated with my financial clerk and my data entry and my accounting vocational technology certificate, along with my diploma, for me, that was absolutely amazing. So it brought me into the environment now that I got to work in some form of back office as a bookkeeper, and I worked at the front desk as a secretary at first. And then I started asking the owners all sort of questions like, what level of education did you have? How did you get here? How long you've been in business? What it is that you wanted to do? And everybody that came in as customers, I would take a little bit of their time because I wanted to know what brought them to this point, how long, and how I could eventually implement this into my own life. So at first, everybody that I spoke to only had an associate degree. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, that's all that I needed. I went and I got my associate degree. And when I did, it was like, okay, could there be more? Because I really didn't get what I thought I would have gotten. I don't know, I thought to myself, somebody would have probably, our teacher in class would have shown me how to start my own business. How do I get from idea into implementing it, into possibly being able to create a business plan and doing all that stuff? And so at that time, technology wasn't as prevalent for us as it is now, which is an advantage for you. But back then, it didn't take until my master's degree that we went over business plans. Yep. It was my master's degree. And at that time, I was like, that was when we started creating a little bit more about what I wanted to do, what could I have done. And I think our business plan, we did it into a marketing class. So for me, going to the traditional way of school, I think it kind of sporadically introduced me to a lot of different things, but not in a focused way that really essentially helped me into formulating what I really wanted to do from the beginning. So it was until now that I got to my doctorate degree that I said, okay, there's gotta be more. And when I got to my doctorate degree, of course, there were a little bit of coursework, but then this entire plate was thrown onto you. It's like, now it's your idea. You need to solve a business problem and you need to take it from the beginning and look at a lot of different businesses. And after you look at all these businesses, you now solve a business problem. I didn't have to do that the entire time. So I was lost for at least a year. But what helped was the fact that through the entire process that I told you, there was a shift in mindset for me where I stopped entertainment and we started visiting the library more. And then I was getting a lot more self-help books. And I came across a few books really that stood out to me, especially when I wanted to do this particular segment. The book from Brian Tracy. There was two books. He had one on how to start and grow your own business, and another one that he has about 21 great ways to start and build your own successful business. Now, when I read that book, I was like, what idea could I start now? Given everything, like I didn't know where to start. I literally didn't know what to do. And then in Brian Tracy, one of the first things he said was, in deciding what you want to do, you should write a list of every single thing that you love to do. Now, for me, I was like, a list? Yes. And I would implore you to do the same. Write a list of everything that you love to do. And that was step one. So I went ahead and I wrote, I love my kids. I love family. I love business. I love music. I love art. I love spending time with my children. I love teaching them. I mean, my list went on and on and on and on, drawing, everything. And then the next thing that he said to do was, after you wrote your list, whether it's 50 or 100 things, because we're allowed to love or like a lot of things. There's no limit into what it is that we can do. And I think for most of us, or for some of us, there are a lot of limitations that are put on us really early, and I don't know why. So again, in previous episodes, when I told you about the fear and shaking these things off, I want you to be here with your mind wide open to decide, like, I want to be able to mind my own business. All right, cool. So in doing so, I picked the top 10 things, and that's what he said. And then he said, decide in your top 10, you get to the one that could breathe life into everything else. So at this point is where focus comes in. So at the time now, I decided that loving what it is that I wanted to do, loving my children, because for me, it was about freedom. I wanted to be able to watch my children grow. I wanted to be able to notice things about them. I wanted to learn and grow with them. I didn't want to be that absentee mom that wanted to rush off to work just because we were in survival mode. And so doing all of that, I decided, oh, wait, I noticed things that I didn't notice before, that my children could sing. I was like, what? Maybe we could do something with this. And because of that, I, in turn, started to learn and teach them, and we all grew together, and they were able to form a musical group. And that allowed me, that was like the first taste of, wow, like we really grew, we really became successful in what it is that we did or we were doing, and people were starting to notice. Another quote that always stood out to me that Oprah said, she always says that, she says, be so good that the world can't ignore you in what it is that you do. So in adding value and learning and growing, continue to learn, grow, and you be so good that it doesn't matter who they are or who you're trying to get their attention. When you stand in a room, they will notice that you're there. So those are the things that I decided that I was going to build an awesome product in the children, continue to teach them, and be able to, not just for now, it's just the things that we were able to pour into them, the disciplines, the character lessons. I thought for me, that was essential, and it was more valuable to me than any financial gain now that they're a lot older and they could use those principles to be able to survive, or all the financial things and the business things that I poured into them. So those are the things that for me, doing business was essential. Not just that, is that I think to myself, most people don't run their household like a business, but they should, if you want it to be successful. Because we don't sit here and look at things of quarterly. 3 months have gone by. What have we done to be able to move the family or the business further a little bit more? We don't do that. And the question is why? Because we should. Because whether we're in a job, and also this is a point that I wanted to make, is that even when I was employed and I worked for a few people, or a few companies before I started my own, is that even though I was an employee, I approached it as if I was a part of the company. I was a stakeholder. Everything that I gave within that company is because I loved what I did. I didn't wake up every single day and I was like, oh my goodness, in la la land, as if no. I didn't love it like, oh my goodness, this is it for me. But I loved the fact that I was awake. I get to have a job when most people didn't. I was grateful. I was able to appreciate the fact that, listen, I had a job, whether it be a secretary job, whether it was times when we were cleaning daycares or whatever it is that we were doing, because I had an opportunity that I knew really early on that in some countries they didn't have. And for me, I was grateful for that. So I loved it. And I realized, and everything that I did, I put 100% in it or more. Like I gave my all in it every single time. So that when I started to work for myself, I did the exact same thing. Because to me, whatever, and I always tell my children this, anything that's worth your time is worth doing well. Every single thing. I saw Mike Tyson. He said, discipline is doing something like you love it, even though you don't love it. I was like, wow, that is so profound. And I always tell people too, is that commitment is doing something that you wanted or you decided to do long after that feeling is gone. So you should get up, get out there and do what you have to do. Now, when it comes to business, what I decided, because not just that, I wanted to create a greater impact. And for a lot of people, I realized that, and I talked about Robert Kiyosaki early on in, I think it was episode 2, where we loved the cash flow game, right? In there, he created, and he has like this really good quadrant with E, S, B, and I. And once I learned that was also it was mind-boggling to me because I didn't know that before. And it's where, as an employee, you know that, oh my goodness, this is taking up a lot of my time. So what do? You get a job for yourself. And so it's a left thinking and right thinking. But for most affluent households, they teach their children, or they teach your children or their generations, is to create businesses and to have investments. So these investments would work for you. We aren't taught that. So that's where this big shift comes in. So in order now for me to learn and grow and get to where my own freedom is, or I want freedom, my own time, to be able to spend time with my family whenever I want, to be able to do what I want when I want, is to be able to create a business where I told you the last time about leveraging other people's time, leveraging other people's money, creating investments and things of that nature to be able to work for you. And the last thing that why I decided that business was it for me, other than making my money work for me, is that I looked at a lot of careers, and at no point, this is nothing wrong with whatever choice that you choose, whatever your heart drives you to do. But for me, the reality was that I looked at being, for instance, a medical doctor. That's a career decision that, of course, unless you translate it over into business, you will be working for somebody until you're like 60 something years old. It doesn't matter what your career, if you're a teacher, unless you translate it over into creating some form of business or investment where your money is working for you. Teacher, doctor, nurse, whatever, firefighter, policeman. If you don't translate your employment into a business or an investment, you will be working for somebody for the rest of your life. And so understanding that at an early age, that's the reason I decided that business, me minding my own business, me creating a business, creating businesses to be able to have passive income, not just earned income, which is the highest tax bracket. Like I touched on that just a little bit. It's just that you must be able to create something to leave for your family, to be able to create some form of greater impact in moving your community forward. And being able to say that again, God has given me these gifts, given it to me. And it's up to me to not let fear hold me back, to not let my limitations hold me back, to not let anything at all that I could think of, and go out and do it. That's all it is. This is what business is about. Because if you don't mind your own business, someone else is. A lot of us, we have our careers, we work, we put our money in the bank, and then we have a financial investor that sit there and tell us what it is that they're thinking for us to do our own investment. When we have a list of ideas and things that we love to do, that we could create products, add value, whether it's an educational video, in sharing content to the world. There's no greater time like this, like now, to be able to share with each other globally and to become and help each other to become and add value. So for me, this is the reason, again, that I thought to myself, business was the way to go. And I don't mind being behind the scene and helping a lot of other companies to grow and create strategic plans and being able to flourish. I don't mind looking at a business and helping them solve their problem, because essentially I consider myself to be a motivational speaker, to be able to help people to solve their problems when it comes to business and help them to create a better future, not just for themselves, but for their children. And that is my hope in sharing this episode with you. And again, thank you so much for watching. If you like the episode, remember to share with your family, share with your friends. Remember to join me on another episode on the Dr. Lydia Show, where we will continue to explore. And if you have any questions that you want me to, talk about on future episodes, send me an email, drop me a comment, subscribe. And thank you again for watching the Dr. Lydia Show. Bye. See you next time.